What is happening, people? Stephen here, and I'm a corporate professional working in the financial services industry, or should I say private equity professional, if that makes sense. Who am I? What is happening, people? My name's Stephen and I'm a corporate professional working in the financial services industry, and welcome back to my channel. Like, really, who am I? Corporate Steve, aka Mr. Corporate, aka City Boy Steve, back with another video. Let's go. It's been just over 3 years since I graduated from university, or college as the Americans would say, and my god, it feels like a blur. Time really does fly when adulting is just whooping your ass left, right, center. In my last video, I talked about being exposed to the greater complexities of life. And to be honest, that complexity is just turning 25. Blech. 25 is such a perplexing age. Highlights from my life since graduation include severe back and knee pain, still living in my madre's crib, day in life has been a shambles for the most part, experienced a pandemic, gone through 3 lockdowns, caught COVID, my portfolio is down about 70%, and I'm basically 30, still living in my mom's crib. That pretty much sums up who I am in short. On this channel, I've always referred to myself as a corporate professional, you know, Stephen, with a PH by the way. A corporate professional working in the financial services industry. What the hell does that actually mean? Like, I've never actually disclosed to you guys what I do for a living. I recently changed careers, and going into my 4th year in corporate, it seems long overdue to bring you guys at least one step closer and give you guys a bit more insight into what Stephen, with a PH, does as a corporate professional. I studied banking and finance at the University of Northampton, and I would say for the most part I was an average student till the tail end of 2nd year / 3rd year, where I figured, I kind of want to be serious and I want to get first class in this degree. Now, for full transparency, I'm going to be so real with you guys. My university is not some Ivy League high-ranking institution, so I figured the least I could do is bag a first, because it would somewhat be equivalent to a 2-1 in a top university, give or take. Now please, I don't want all the study YouTubers and educational content creators to come for me. I said give or take. When I was in 3rd year, I came across a module called corporate governance, which I kind of took a keen interest in and got a first in. It's basically how senior execs maintain good governance practices when making decisions within an organization. That's sort of the gist of what corporate governance is. Again, educational heads, don't come for me, just high level summary. One of the things that really interested me about this module is that it revolved around decision makers of an organization at the highest level, which sounded quite appealing to me. So when I started looking for jobs, I just narrowed down my search to anything that had governance in it and was relating to corporate governance. I managed to bag a job for the largest American Fintech at the time as a risk and compliance analyst. Now, for those who don't know, corporate governance is usually sat within the compliance function of an organization in most companies. So yeah, that's pretty much how I landed in compliance. As you can see, the role was twofold. So on the risk side, I was assessing any material risks that were prevalent to the organization, and then working with the business to mitigate the risk through the implementation of a risk framework, or whatever that means. And then on the compliance side, I was making sure that the business was compliant with any relevant laws and regulations. And then on the governance side, which was kind of intertwined into my job description, I was basically the secretariat for the board of directors, which essentially means I was just a glorified minute taker. I mean, I wouldn't even say I was glorified. I think you were just a minute taker. Period. Funny story, I actually thought that taking minutes of a meeting meant you actually needed to set a timer for when the meeting starts and when the meeting finishes. Like, I can't even make that stuff up. But again, these are the things they don't teach you at university. But anyways, I really like this role. For one, it was a grad scheme, so I was kind of babied a lot. And when I did anything above average, it was celebrated like the best thing since sliced bread. Because they were an American company, I got to travel and stay in fancy hotels, which is honestly the life when you've studied for 3 years, entered 50k in debt. It's kind of like, yeah, it was all worth it. And lastly, I just genuinely loved compliance. Like, I even have a news article that talked about me wanting to be the encyclopedia of compliance one day, which in hindsight, bleh. For context, my first role in corporate was in-house compliance, which meant that we were essentially advising the company on compliance matters as opposed to their clients, because their clients would have their own compliance departments, if that made sense. So going into my second year of work, I recall asking my manager if it would be possible to leverage our compliance knowledge to give advice to the company's clients, because some of them really struggled with compliance, which was quite weird, right? Because they had their own dedicated compliance departments, but this wasn't really how our business model was set up. And one thing about, corporate institutions is that they don't really want any liability, and it wasn't really in their best interest to do so. But for me, I wanted to utilize the knowledge I'd gained in a client-oriented capacity, because I felt like my strengths was really on the people side of things, interacting with various different business units and so on and so forth. So I figured out that I'll just go look for this somewhere else. And I ended up working for the 4th largest investor services provider for the best part of 2 years. Now, my initial role was advising investment firms on all compliance related matters, because investing is somewhat a regulated activity. Now, I really excelled in this role because I went beyond the surface of compliance to understand what the investment firms were doing. To be honest, I was just being super nosy because I was kind of intrigued at how much money was being controlled in this investment ecosystem by regular people like, you and me. Anyways, my nosiness sort of earmarked me for a promotion to an advisory role where I was advising the investment firms on how to set up investment vehicles, aka funds, to deploy investor cash into various different strategies. Now, this is really where I got hit with the investing bug, because I had access to high caliber execs, top tier institutions, proprietary investment strategies, and was just exposed to this network of big boys rolling with a load of cash. But that wasn't enough. The thing is, I was merely an advisor making the infrastructure for these firms to sort of park their cash to invest their money. I didn't really have any influence in the, final decision of where the investors actually invested their money. Like, I wanted to be a key contributor in the investment strategy and really influence decision making. In other words, I wanted to bamba, I wanted to roll with the big boys, you know what I mean? So I abruptly handed in my notice, threw away the prospective career trajectory I'd built over the years and said, let's go chase this investment dream. Now, you would think with the way this story is going so far, I landed my dream job in an investment firm and now I'm living the dream, making the money, the end. No, that is not what happened. I received a ton of rejection emails because I didn't have the traditional background that these investment firms were looking for. Ivy League school, investment banking or management consultant for 2 to 3 years, and a guy on the inside. I went to a regular school, I worked in the back of the back office, and I had limited experience in the investing field. I did, however, manage to land interviews for 3 firms, one for a VC fund, one for a corporate finance advisory role, and one for an investment tech startup. I didn't get any of them. Now at this point I was like shit then, because I'd handed in my notice and time had run out, so I ended up landing a brief gig at another compliance consulting firm for some cash flow. And I kind of low-key gave up on the investment dream because I was making a decent amount of money for my age. I was familiar with compliance. I still had a bit of exposure to investment firms, admittedly not as much as my last role. That was sort of my situation, and that was what I was in, and I was comfortable. I still decided to passively apply for jobs just out of boredom, their easy apply on LinkedIn, godsend. Just as I was getting comfy in my new gig, with my dreams of working in an investment firm slipping away, and boom, I got a call from a renowned wealth management firm, and then another call from a top tier private equity firm. Now I'm going to focus on the private equity firm because, spoiler alert, from the title, that's why I ended up going for in the end. I'll make a separate video on details of both roles and why I picked working for a private equity firm as opposed to a wealth management firm. The icing on the cake was that the PE firm was owned by the first compliance consulting firm I used to work for, so I genuinely couldn't even believe that they even considered me as a viable candidate, because in my head I was thinking there must be some sort of conflict, right? I went through the various stages and I landed the job, yeah. Now, best believe when I landed the role, I had to jump on LinkedIn and do the whole
I'm excited to announce that I'll be joining XYZ firm as blah blah blah.
The standard procedure whenever you get a job at, any job in fact, you just have to go on LinkedIn and announce me. I don't make the rules, I just follow them. Everyone has been congratulating me and commending me on the move, which, I'm forever grateful for. However, what most don't know is that I am essentially restarting my career. again after 3 years. For starters, this is a 6-month internship with no guarantee of an extension or being converted to a full-time role at the end. I've also taken a literal 50% pay cut. And it's new, unfamiliar territory. Like, I may not even be good at the job. Like, my mum thinks I'm crazy for, you know, turning down another role that basically offered me like a lot of money, or what some people may consider to be a lot of money. But to me, it's better now than ever. You know, the early parts of your career where you have limited responsibilities and dependence is, you know, about taking risks, trial and error, and just experiencing a broad range of things. So that's essentially what I'm doing. So yes, I've finally been relieved from the shackles and bondage of compliance, no offense. If this move doesn't work out, employers, please disregard what I said. So yeah, like, you know, with that being said, I guess you guys know now that I am, you know, I'll be working for a top tier private equity firm. Moving forward, the content on this channel is going to sort of revolve around, you know, careers in private equity, how I got into private equity, and, you know, also like heavy on the personal finance from an investing perspective as well. Hashtag not financial or investment advice, but, you know, I feel like I have a few gems, knowledge, insight, and a bit of skin in the game to sort of, you know, take you guys through my investment journey and potentially sort of like, you know, give you guys insight into the investment world as a whole. And you know, one of my goals this year is to become a thought leader in the investment space. So, you know, again, this is more for me than it is for you guys, but I'm hoping you guys will also benefit from this as well. If you guys like this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you don't miss a thing. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.